Warps are useful for more complex game structures and testing your own games. Typically, they target a tagged exit. I can press the Edit Tag button and name a tag, add it to the list, and then apply it to this warp. This warp would then send me to an exit that is labeled my tag. To create an exit, I press E, and then I add that tag. So now this warp would lead to this exit. You can learn more about exits in their own video, but right now let's focus on the entrance. In this very simple example, it wouldn't really be necessary to use a warp, but I just want to show it to you in a very simple way. So here in this challenge, if you won this challenge, you'd come up to this story node, and then you'd warp across these two levels to arrive at this exit and proceed with the story in that fashion. Warp entrances can also act as returns. You can toggle that by hitting this return to last warp enter toggle. This is good for when you've made a detour but want to go back to the place that you entered the detour from without having to keep track of where you entered. So perhaps you have a lot of different places that will lead to a node that is something like this. So let's look at this simple example. In this case, I've got a story node followed by a level, and then I have this option to go to my tag, which is actually going to lead to this place here, a crafting setup. So I'd arrive at my tag, and I would see this node displayed to the player, which would say crafting time. Then I would be able to choose what I craft, and I would return to wherever I entered this warp or the last warp from. So in this way, I wouldn't have to keep track. I could just enter it here, here, or here, and the game would keep track of where I entered this arrive at my tag exit. One last thing to note, if I had multiple exits scattered through my campaign that had the my tag applied to them, I can choose if I'm going to target the previous or the next one of those tags in the flow of the campaign. Be aware that when the campaign structure gets very complicated, this may not be reliable, but you can attempt to use that if the campaign structure is a bit more linear. For more information on using map tags, please refer to the video on the set tag mapping node. This is basically just going to allow you to set the value of one tag to the value of another, which can be useful if you're going to try a bit more complicated structures.